What's going on, YouTube? This is Chris from Lifter LMS. We're going to get started here in just a moment. Barb, welcome to the call. On YouTube, this is Chris. So that's if you want to share that into the Facebook group, Kathy, that'd be awesome. And we're at time. So you ready to rock, Michael?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to hit record and we'll get this party started. Hello and welcome to part 2 of this live training with Michael Moore. Michael is from iThemes. He's a security expert. He's a WordPress expert, and he's also has a lot of knowledge about backups and recovery, which, like we said yesterday, when the website is the business, you need to have not just an insurance plan, but when things do go wrong, you need to have systems and processes and knowledge in place to, have it get things backing up and running very quickly without any problems. And there's lots of reasons your website could go down, which I'm sure we'll get into in this presentation. But first, Michael, thanks for coming back and doing some more training with the Lifter LMS audience.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm super, super excited. Like I said, this is I know I like people who teach stuff. So this is a community I genuinely really like. This community, just because I think people who are able to teach someone something else that they're passionate about, and then even make a little side hustle out of it. Like I just dig the whole concept of it. I love it. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. We got a bunch of people jumping in. Just want to say hi to Amy, Arnold, Barb, David, Derek, Ellen, and Marco. We've got some more people rolling in. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello and welcome. Please feel free to ask questions and leave comments below the video if you're watching in YouTube, or in the chat or Q&A box here if you're in Zoom. If you are watching this in YouTube and you want to come over into the Zoom webinar, we'll put a link in the comments there so that you can jump on over. We are going to be doing 2 giveaways at the end of this presentation, so I'd encourage you to stick around to the end. Michael's got a giveaway coming from iThemes, and we're giving away one of our $99 add-ons from Lifter LMS. So stick around. And you got to be in the Zoom and here when we draw the winners for that at the end. But this is an interactive presentation. Michael likes to take questions as we go. So if he gets into a topic that you've got more questions on, or want some clarification on, or didn't quite get it, feel free to speak up and we'll get into it. These are really important issues. And it's important that, you understand how all this works and what you can do about it to reduce stress and make your website and your online business more secure and stable, and just, not have a lot of stress around what happens if things go wrong. We are going to be recording this. So if you registered for this training, you're going to get a replay link. We also catalog all our training webinars. There's a link at the bottom of lifterlms.com where you can go watch them again. But if you did register, we are going to be sending out a replay. So if you see something that happens in this training and you want to revisit it tomorrow or whatever, you're going to be able to do that. But I'll hand it over to you, Michael. How are we going to get into this conversation around disaster? I see a lot of stress and anxiety when in online business people. We talked yesterday a lot about security and hackers and bots and things like that. But when the website goes down, or just the thought that could happen, is really stressful to an online business owner, especially if they're not super techie and they kind of already know how all this stuff works. What are we going to start with? Take us to school today.
No, that's exactly right. That's why I'm so because the reason why I am so fond of this community, because my dad is this community. He is a small business owner who is a Dale Carnegie instructor. He does some of his own personal branding stuff, and he knows nothing about any of this. And it is stressful and it is intimidating. But what I want to do today, just like I tried to do yesterday, is make it simple for you, make it not so overwhelming, because really this stuff isn't too complicated and it shouldn't cause you anxiety. That's why it's coming back from disaster, coming back from a disaster that might sound like a negative, but I mean it as a positive. Like if something goes wrong, you can fix it. It's not a big deal. We're going to set you up for success. Let's do it. So just every site is really, really important to backup, but it's even more important for you guys because just like Chris was saying, this is your business. This is your store. This is your livelihood. And so if your site does go down, the length of time that it takes you to recover from it is money. It's money, is lost in sales. Here's some reasons why you should back up your site. Because your site does get hacked, hey, here's a quick, fast way to get you back up and going. A lot of times, if we were talking about yesterday, someone who's watching on the YouTube live, he mentioned, hey, should I be doing automatic updates? Because what if it breaks my site? Well, if you're making good backups, like you just roll back real quick, it's not a big deal. Accidental deletion. Another thing we talked about yesterday was how Backup Buddy was created because of human error. We accidentally deleted a whole bunch of stuff. We're like, oh, you know what would have been great? If we had something to roll back from deleting everything off the server, this would have been, so our pain caused us to solve it so other people don't have to face the same kind of pain. Another thing is just data corruption. Like a lot of times if let's say a customer is buying something and then for some reason your server is having some resource issues. And then as that purchase is getting uploaded to your database, the server times out and that table in the database doesn't get updated correctly. So it corrupts it. And so the server can no longer read it. Guess what? If you have a database backup, not a big deal. You roll it back real quick, you're good. So again, this is all this stuff is nerve-wracking. All these things, all the whys are nerve-wracking. But if you have a plan in place, like it shouldn't cause you any anxiety because you already have the problem solved before it comes. So that's what's most important is all this stuff is solvable. No need to cause stress. No need to cause anxiety. Okay, and so the real cost of losing your data is going to be a record of sales. It's going to be student progress, customer trust, and time. So it's not, a lot of times we think of data and first of all, it's a terrible word, data, because it's livelihood. It's, again, like I was talking about yesterday, I'm an achiever. When I'm taking an online course, I like seeing my progress. So you didn't lose my data, you lost my progress. You lost what was important to me. You lost my trust and you lost my time. So that is a bad word. It's what are you really losing? You're losing sales, trust, time. And I don't even own my own business. And I know time is the most valuable thing that there possibly is. And if you don't have a good backup plan, you're going to spend more time getting your site back up line. And the longer the site is down, the more likely, the longer you get down, the more sales you're going to lose. So really, it's important to have a good backup strategy and create peace of mind in 7 steps. So first of all, you want to choose a backup method. Step 2, decide what you want to back up. What's important? What can you leave out? You're going to choose how often do you need to back up. Schedule and automate your backups. Choose an offsite location. Scan backups for malware and practice restoring. Now, all these are super important. We're going to go in them in a little bit more detail. So one thing that we often get asked about is like, can I just let my host handle the backups? Question is, it depends. You need to be asking you need to ask your host whether or not you're able to download the backup. If you need their assistance, if the server goes down, is it stored on a different location? So even if they're having problems, you're going to be able to upload it upload your site and restore your site in a new location. Because again, the longer your site is down, the longer it takes you to back up or get your site back online, the more costly it is for you. And if the site goes down and you have a downloaded backup and you restore it real quick, like people might not even know that it went down in the first place. Now so you want to choose your backup method. You can do it manually. And there's some pros to that. 1, it's free. 2, you're in control of everything. And you can use either an FTP client or cPanel to manually download the files. You can back up your database using PHP admin. It's going to be a more advanced restore. It's going to be a more advanced migration. And that URL right there is a support article from the WordPress .org codex that will give you instructions on how to manually back up your site. Now, you can also go to the WordPress plugin method. It's going to be paid in most cases, but you can automate the file backups. You automate the database backups. Most of them have an easy restore method. I like to think of a WordPress plugin as a backup in a box. You got everything you need to back up your site in one product, and then you don't have to worry about anything else. Now you have to decide what to back up. So the main structure of a WordPress site is going to be your plugins, your themes, your media, your images, your videos. Are people uploading things? The WordPress core files, which is the files that make WordPress go, and then your uploads in your database. Now, so the anatomy of a WordPress site. So this is looking at the WordPress install directory right here. So let's go over to my FTP client. And so this is going to be the main file for on your server for your WordPress directory. So as you can see here, I have my WP admin and WP includes are going to be the important WordPress files. But the thing about these two directories is it's not going to be unique to your site. Those is going to be generic for every single WordPress site. The other files that you go into that are going to start making that site your own. So another thing, two important files that are in the WordPress install directory is going to be your .htaccess. Now, this is going to be what a lot of plugins will use to write rules that the server will follow. For example, a lot of times if you have an SSL redirect, which means you're forcing people who go to the HTTP version of your site, you're forcing them to get redirected over to the HTTPS. So if you haven't watched yesterday, you can go back and watch yesterday to see how the communication between the browser and the client's encrypted. So again, a lot of times that will happen right here in the htaccess. Or if you have a banned user, it's going to happen right here in this htaccess file. Now, the other one that you want to keep in mind about that's going to be unique to you is going to be this wp-config.php file. Now, this is going to have your WordPress salt, which is kind of like a security key. And then this is also going to be where you're going to have your database credentials. So it's an important file. It's going to be unique to your site. It's definitely one that you're going to want to pay attention to backup. So out of this page right here and this server, wp-config, it's not trying to move that, htaccess. Now, going further in, the WP content is going to be more things that, again, are unique to your site. So you have your plugins folder, your theme folder, the upgrade. The reason why I have this here is because I have the auto update feature enabled in iTheme security. So that's going to be used to auto update different plugins on my site. And then going further in, these are every single plugins I have installed on the site. So everything you see here is going to show up on the plugins page. So as you can see, everything right here. Oh, you guys pushed out an update. I need an update. Everything you see here is going to be right here. So that's where WordPress is getting the information for your plugins page, is right here. Let's go up a level. Now here's the themes. Same thing with the themes, or same thing with the plugins. Every single theme installed on the site is going to be right here. Both these are going to have things that are going to be unique to your site, especially if you're using a child theme or if you added anything to your functions.php file in your theme to add any extra functionality. So again, these are both really important directories that are unique to your site that you're going to want to be sure to back up. You also have your upload. So if you are accepting forms, if you allow people to upload images, this is another one you're going to want to make sure you back up, because you want to make sure that you have your media backed up and everything backed up. So again, the WP content directory is that's where like all the magic of making your site happen. So again, really, really important folder. So just to kind of sum up what I said, the WP admin, WP includes, stores all the background files that make WordPress go. You have the WP content directory that is going to store your plugins, themes, and uploads directories. Like another thing could go in the uploads directory is a lot of times plugins will store logs there. So any important information about like if you have the file version of the iTheme security logs, it will be stored there. So you want to bat that up to make sure you are keeping that data safe and secure. And then again, the plugins, we went over this, but just to surmise plugins, all your plugins are going to be found there. All your themes are going to be found there. And then I forgot to open up. And we talked about LastPass yesterday. This is my LastPass installed on the Mac app. Just copy my password, paste it in there. Good to go. Secure, unique. Whoops. Okay, yeah. Hold on, I'm going to take this off screen real quick because I have to actually go into my vault for that. Sorry, guys. I really meant to have this open for you.
No worries.
Already.
I just want to say that was a really good explanation. Even if you're not like techie or do stuff with FTP or aware of what WordPress is, like just having that knowledge of what you just showed of like, these are the files, this is what makes your website unique. I've never heard it explained that clearly before. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, again, you don't necessarily need to know this information, but if you know the basic structure of it, again, it makes it a little less intimidating, a little less anxiety producing if you just have the basic, because that's what, again, like having like so much experience and support, I am very empathetic to the single site owner who's just trying to get their business going. Let's take the anxiety out of it. It's not a lot of this. There's no pressure, no pressure. You're going to set yourself up for success, have the systems in place like Chris was talking about to alleviate the pressure. Okay, so this is your database. So you can see you have all the different Lifter options right here. So if you make any changes to the Lifter plugin, these options are going to be stored in the database. And so the reason why the database is super crucial, especially for like e-commerce sites, especially if you're taking payments for your courses, because this is where your student activity is going to be recorded. This is where your payment activity is going to be recorded. This is where the lifeblood of your business is being stored. So the files on the server on the FTP side, that's what makes it you, right? These files make it you. These files are your business. These files are what keeps you alive. So this is your personality. This is your money. So looking at these different, so each site is going to have a unique database prefix. And all that means is, so I named this site for this webinar Lifter. So I also named my prefix Lifter. So if you look at my other site, this is a site that I do a lot of testing on, and just call it sync. So you'll see that I have a sync options. So sync is my prefix. And up here, I'm going to have a Lifter options because Lifter is my prefix. So, and these are going to be a lot of times, if you go to your options, you'll see a lot of different WordPress settings in there that are going to be stored there. You're going to see sometimes the iTheme security will store some of the things that we do to the site in the options. And look, you have your Lifter quiz attempts. So people who make quiz attempts, they're going to be right here. Again, I'm Achiever. Make sure you're backing this up so you don't lose my achievements. I want my achievements. And then let me just go back down to sync because I have some more stuff in my database in Lifter. Where was I just at? Oh, user post meta. Okay, so this is where like some of your user information is going to be. Look, you have your start date here. When was the enrollment triggered? What's the status? So again, this is information about your students that you don't want to lose. Okay, because this is your business. This is the brain of your site. This is the brain of your company. This is where you want all your stuff. So that's why. And again, like the only reason why you don't have to memorize any of this. I'm just trying to let you guys know where it's stored. Well, let's take the mystery of it away because it's just real basic little tables. So That's the basic anatomy of a WordPress site. It's just to give you an idea of what all is involved in making your site go, and how it all ties together, works together. That way you kind of know what to do for your backup strategy. Now, the next thing you want to think about is how often do you want to back up your site? So how often does the content change? How often does the user interact with your site? If you have an LMS, probably pretty often. How much tolerance do you have for lost data? Like that's the number one question. How much tolerance do you have for lost data? How long can you go and lose? Can you lose a week's worth of data and be okay? Can you lose an hour's worth of data and be okay? Like somewhere in between. That's how you know. That's the number one question to really figure out what's the frequency. What am I okay with losing? How often is the site updated? So a good rule of thumb is you should be backing up your site often enough to keep up with the changes of your website. If you have an e-commerce site and you have frequent sales, you should be backing up your database at least once an hour. Now, if you're using Backup Buddy Stash Live, anytime there's any change made to a database, it will be backed up. So for example, I make a little bit of progress in one of your courses. That's going to be written to the database, boom, automatically sent to Stash Live offsite location. You're not losing any of that data, because as soon as that change is made, we trigger an event to send that change to an offsite location. Don't have to worry about it.
That's really cool. So it might be hard for someone to be like, well, I don't know, every hour, every minute, once a day, but like, how about just whenever it changes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
whenever it changes, let's just back it up. Like, especially the database, like the other stuff, like, because even if you do have an online course, there might be a lot of user interaction, but if I'm making, or if you have like a blog post that has a comment section down at the bottom, if I add a comment, that's going to go to the database. It's not being stored on the server. It's not, so you can just back up the database. And then with depending, because even if you do have a e-commerce site, if you're not pushing out new blog posts all the time, you don't need to back up all the time. So it's just figure out what works best for you. But like what Chris was saying, like if there's a change made, let's go ahead and back it up. Because again, using Stash Live, if you it will, I think, a couple different times a day, it's going to go and see if there's been any changes from the past backup and your current files. And if there has been, boom, that gets backed up too. And then it actually separates it out into the plugins, themes, and into different folders. That way, if you have a backup that borked your site, you can just back up and restore from that plugin instead of having to do a whole complete site restore. Because the great thing about doing that, if you're breaking it out in chunks, when disaster does hit, you get to restore faster, because as soon as you know, it's just, oh crap, I updated this plugin. Now my site's borked. Roll back that update real quick. That's going to take you all of, I don't know, a minute and a half, and you're back up and going. And you're fine.
I had just a general question for you. When you're working with backups and stuff, sometimes there's options to do the database only or the database and files. What does that really mean, and why? I know it's heavier if it's the files too, but why? And so can you explain that? Like, I like what you were saying, how different you can also back up different pieces and stuff, but what is that?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, don't cheap out in hosting. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, people will charge $200 for a course, but then they'll spend $2 a month on hosting.
And that hosting is going to have limits of how much storage, and that's okay.
How much storage?
So are you saying that if you have good hosting, then just don't worry about it and just back up everything?
Yeah. Well, it's just if that would be my rule of thumb. But if you are on shared hosting where you have limited bandwidth and you backing up your full site is going to slow down your user's experience, just make sure the database is backed up, and then worry about the server files later, because you're going to be sharing that bandwidth, that up and down. Because think of it like a funnel, right? So the funnel is going to have room for all the requests. So backup request is coming in. I'm trying to take a course. for the users that are trying to sign up. And then as soon as it gets down to the bandwidth, there's a throttle. So all of a sudden, like, okay, the backup's going through, but guess what, Michael? Your user experience is going to suffer because this funnel's too small to let you come through right now.
Yeah.
So spend money on hosting. It's if your site's making you money, spend money on hosting. That answer your question?
It does. That does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Another thing I want to think about is scheduling and automating your backups. So again, like this is what we're just talking. This actually plays right into this. So we're talking about that funnel, right? So if you're paying attention to the analytics of your site, which means you know when your peak periods are of user engagement, maybe you want to schedule your backup to be in the middle of the night when you have low or no user interaction. That way that funnel is nice and open for the backup. And during your busy hours, you're not clogging it up with maintenance, because that's what you're doing. You're clogging it up with maintenance, which, if I'm in a restaurant, they're not going to be mopping the floors while they're serving me food. So you can separate those times out. And again, like automate, like why you're busy, save time, automate. And besides that, like, I know I drop the ball and stuff. I'm human. Like I use the bullet journal method. And I try to stay on top of a bunch of different tasks. I have my monthly task list. I have my daily task list. I have my daily time block task list. And guess what? I still drop the ball and stuff because I'm human. It's going to happen. So automate it. Just don't worry about it. Just set it and forget it. Let's just be done with it. Let's focus on growing your business and not the maintenance part of it.
Quick question from YouTube. James is asking, I believe he's asking where are the pages. I think he's asking where in those file structure do page content go?
Database.
Yeah.
The database. So all the pages, which is confusing because like on a normal website, like a non-WordPress website, you create a new page, it's going to be another .html file. Yeah. But in WordPress, the pages are created dynamically through PHP. So, or they're displayed dynamically through PHP. So those are actually going to be stored in your database. So yeah, it is that's a good question because that is confusing. But again, the images that are going to be on that page are going to be server files. So let's make it more complicated by adding that into the mix.
And while we're on the topic, like Lifter has some custom post types like courses and lessons. Where do those go?
Database.
Yeah. It's all WP content basically, right?
Yeah. WP content, and then WP content folder, make sure that's backed up. And then the custom post types and everything, and like all your posts, all your different posts. Here, I'll just show you real quick since I have it up. So you're going to have user meta, and then you're going to have, let's go up to a smaller one, post right here. And so almost everything, even pages are considered posts in WordPress. So you can see my sample page right here, the post titles, hello world. Here's the post content. Here's when the post date, the time on it. You can see if the published, this one is a draft, that's the privacy policy. So all that's going to be in, because almost everything in WordPress is considered a post. Yeah. And so that's where you're going to find a lot of that stuff. That might be an oversimplification, but for our purposes, just a lot of your important stuff will be there.
And one quick question, just to kind of complete the picture. The database, is that something that we're getting from our hosting, basically? That's like what we're buying in our hosting package?
Mm-hmm. Correct. So if you have a host, they'll be able to give you all the information on how to access your database, the credentials, anything you need to know, any specifics you need to know, your host will be able to provide that to you.
Gotcha. And then WordPress just sits on top of that. Like it's an application that sits on top of that, but it needs a database to function.
Yes, no, exactly. Without the database, your site is, because you're exactly right. So you have the database, call this the database, and your server files right here. This is the FTP.
Yeah.
Right here. So this is the FTP layer, right? And then this, the site, the WordPress application is going to sit on top of that. Yeah. And so, but they do need to communicate. So just like Chris was saying, that the application layer has to be able to talk to WordPress needs this layer, otherwise it doesn't work. If this layer isn't there, WordPress doesn't work. So again, the brain, this is the brain. I wouldn't be able to move my arm if I didn't have my brain.
Yeah. And James is asking a follow-up question on YouTube. First, he said, thanks for the explanation. It was very helpful. But what are some reasonable prices for shared versus dedicated hosting?
Okay, so price is only one factor. Okay, it's going to be dependent on one, your needs. And then two, the things that you want to look at is like, what are you getting for your money? So important things to look for. What's your PHP memory? What's your PHP execution time? Because there's a lot of times like they won't, bad hosts won't upgrade your PHP execution time, which means that when something's trying to do something, it'll only have 30 seconds to do it. And if it can't complete that process in 30 seconds, it times out and it won't get done. And so that's why that is an important stat to think about. PHP memory, think of it like RAM almost, where if you don't have enough of that, it will literally break your site because it'll be like, uh-oh, exhausted PHP memory. Let's kill this process. And then another good thing is like, how much bandwidth do you get a month? Like if my site's busy, or if I have like a super busy month, all of a sudden like something you have a piece of content that goes viral. What's my punishment going to be? What's the cost going to be? If I go over, am I going to go over and I'll be good, but you're going to charge me an arm and a leg? Or is my site going to go down because I ran out of resources? So it's not necessarily price, it's about what you're getting for the value. If you're making money on your site, like don't worry about the cost. It's part of maintenance. Like if you're making money on your site, if you're making money on your site, get a managed WordPress hosting plan. If you're not, just make sure that you're spending enough to get good support, that you are going to have the PHP memory, you're going to have the PHP max execution time, you're going to have enough page views, you're going to have enough room on your server to grow, because you're like, I think you're going to grow. So keep that in mind. You have to have room for growth, and as you grow, your website's going to grow, because as your user base grows, your user meta posts, or where are we at? As your user base grows, your user meta options or your user meta table is going to grow. And the bigger this gets, the better hosting you're going to need just to process this information up and down between, again, the server layer and WordPress, the application layer. So I hate answering the price question, because we're owned by a hosting company. We're owned by Liquid Web, and they're Liquid Web managed hosting. I honestly can say this. I work for them, so full disclosure, their managed WordPress hosting, do a price comparison. It's actually very competitive. I'll say that. It's very competitive pricing compared to the other managed WordPress hosting platforms. And part of that is a lot of the other ones are, they resell like Google Cloud hosting. So their servers and stuff are actually owned by Google or somewhere else, where Liquid Web, they own all the infrastructure. So they can just charge, they can charge more competitive prices because it's cheaper for them to do it. And I say them, they bought us. So again, full disclosure. And then if you are a new site owner, a new course manager, check out iThemes hosting. Like, again, I'm iThemes. And so full disclosure, but you can check out the iThemes hosting plans. They're pretty solid, pretty reasonable, and they'll give you what you need while you're developing your customer base.
Yeah, and I was looking at the iThemes hosting packages there, and they have like Backup Buddy as part of the package, which is cool. So that's also when you're looking at hosting, is like hosts sometimes bundle in other benefits. Like I know Liquid Web has a managed WooCommerce hosting. So if you're doing a WooCommerce store, they have different ways to get in at different price points but they have like tools and stuff specifically for e-commerce. WooCommerce e-commerce. So that's part of it too. Like what's in the mix?
What works for you? Because that's the thing. It's you have to find out what works for you. Because what works for me, I don't do what you do. So it's not like we're not gonna have the same needs. So I'm not, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the most qualified person to give you that advice. But those are two good options to check out. Um, and then another thing you want to think about is choosing an offsite location to store your backups. Let's say that you do decide to make your own backups. You know, it used to be like people would just put them on an external hard drive and throw their backup there because there wasn't really a better option. Like cloud hosting really wasn't a thing yet. Cloud storage wasn't really a thing yet. And hard drives fail. And if you store your backups in the same side of a server location, what happens when the server goes down? Are you going to be able to get it? What happens if you're storing your backups on your server and your server gets hacked? Are you going to feel confident restoring a hacked site that's on the same server as your site that was hacked? Like, I wouldn't. So, you know, if you have it on your server and then you have it on a backup, what happens if a natural disaster comes by and wipes out? Like, I live in Oklahoma, so that's always on top of my mind. And so, again, and also like having it in multiple locations so the backups are redundant. So if you have, like, you think about Amazon, right? So if you are backing up something on like an AWS S3 or Amazon S3 server, what's cool about them is, and I think this is probably just a modern way of doing it, if you are backing up a backup, they'll have multiple different servers that are storing that data like across like a region. So if one portion of their server farm gets knocked out because of natural disaster, guess what? There's this other one. If you're in North Carolina, this other one's down in Florida is fine. And so you're still going to be covered. You're still going to be protected because they again, if natural disaster happens, like, we have a plan for it. There's a plan in place. No need to worry. No need to stress out. And then we have with Backup Buddy, we have Stash, which we're using the Liquid Web Object Storage for Stash. Which just, if you're using Backup Buddy, it just makes it super easy. And then you also have Google Drive, which is super cheap. You have Dropbox, which is super cheap. For Google Drive, I get 100 gigabytes a month for $1.99. I put all my photos of my kid there, everything else, and I don't have to worry about it. Don't just back up your site. Back up everything. Anything that's important to you, back it up.
So are you saying you're running backups? You can back up to your server. That's what Backup Buddy does by default. But if you want offsite storage, you can use something like Stash, which you guys make, or Google Drive or Dropbox or Amazon S3.
At the end, I'm going to show you how easy it is to get your site set up for backups using Stash. It's ridiculously easy. Like, it's just, that's what I want. Like, I'm going to show off. That's what, like, if I'm not, if I'm going to be honest about it, I want to show off a little bit.
If you're a little bit older, you remember a safety deposit box at a bank? I mean, those things still exist, but like when something's really important, you got an offsite location that's like fireproof or whatever is kind of important. Yeah.
I own a fire safe at my house right now.
Okay.
Like, it's just in case, just in case.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another important thing is like scanning your backups for malware, because, like, again, using Stash, like every backup that gets backed up to Stash is going to be scanned for malware to make sure that you are safe to restore your site using that backup. Because if your site is hacked and you're not scanning your backup, are you going to feel comfortable restoring your site? Like, great, you just spend a lot of time to get malware back on your site. Awesome. So yeah, just take the extra step to go ahead and scan your site or your backups from malware. And then we also have practice restoring. This is the most important part. So when there's a reason why I think about any military video, any Army movie, they're always practicing taking apart and putting back together their guns. So when the time comes, they can do that without thinking about it, because there's enough stressful things already going on that you want to be able to restore your site without thinking about it. You should be able to do that unconsciously, because you're already going to be stressed out. If disaster does strike, it's going to be stressful. So you want to be confident in your ability to restore your site under pressure, because, again, downtime is money. Downtime is money. Downtime's loss of cost. Downtime's loss of trust. So be prepared. Because I hear, like, I have this in here because I'm more of a practical person, like, and you'll see a lot of people talk about like backups and everything else. They'll never talk about practicing the restore, which drives me crazy every single time. Like, they have to learn how to do it. Like, you can't just like wait till disaster strikes, then start reading documentation that if there's anything confusing about it, like, be ready. Yeah, this is the most, like I say, the most important step for last. Like once you have your backup plan, this is so important. Don't skip this step. Like please don't skip this step. Because there's, working in support, I have had people come in who, first of all, they install Backup Buddy, but they never thought to like create a backup schedule. So they never had a backup. So they installed it, but they never actually made a backup of their site. And then they'll have a backup, but then they don't know how to restore it. And so their site is sitting there down while they're wasting time learning how to use the plugin they bought 2 years ago. So yeah, it's just this. Sorry, I don't mean to harp on this, but this is super important. Okay, so that is the 7 steps to peace of mind. But let's go take a look. Let me show off real quick. Okay, so I've installed Backup Buddy on the site, but I haven't done anything else with it. So in order to get my backup strategy, my backup plan in place, I'm going to go to Backup Buddy, and I'm going to go to Stash Live. And then I'm going to enter in my iThemes username and password. Thanks to LastPass for making it easy for me to have unique passwords for every single site. All right, I'm done.
That's it.
That's it.
So you install the plugin and you explain to me Stash a little bit more. You have to sign up for that separately, right?
Yeah. Okay. So every Backup Buddy subscription is going to come with at least a gigabyte of Stash. So
to get started, you can start with that.
Yes.
And a gig is pretty significant for a website.
It really is. It really is. If you have a bunch of media and stuff and you're actually storing it locally, like why anyone would have, I would always take advantage of, you can upload all your videos to YouTube and then play them on your site and then not have any of the costs of storing that backup. And then you can set it all to private too, so people can't even get into there if you don't want them to. But
Vimeo Pro and Wistia are really popular for the course builders. Yeah.
Yeah, we use for iThemes training. We use Vimeo. Then so there's this part is a little bit confusing, and I wish we would have done this better, truthfully. So there's Stash and there's Stash Live. So Stash is going to be the remote destination, because that's one good thing. If Stash Live doesn't work for you, Backup Buddy allows you to back up to Google Drive. A little bit more involved in setting up that and creating an app, a Google app to let Backup Buddy back up there. Amazon S3, and then you also have Dropbox down here and some other methods. So with regular Stash, it's going to be like these other remote destinations where it's going to back up your site, and then that backup is going to be sent there. With Stash Live, this is the part of Backup Buddy that if you make a change to your database, it's going to automatically be sent to Stash to protect that backup. This is the one that like is going to scan your site a few times a day and then see if any changes are made. And if a plugin is updated, boom, that information is going to get sent and updated to your Stash storage, which yeah, it's just again, you just don't have to worry about it anymore. You enter in your iThemes username and password, and you're done. And then all the other stuff I talked about, you can unlearn right now. You can unlearn it all.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's not hard to set up.
But like that's all I had to show you guys today. But I am eager to answer any questions that I can.
Who has questions for Michael? Anybody have any questions about backups or security? I just want to say, Michael, it's just so important, the backups and the peace of mind. Like if you know it's happening, it's great. Like one of the things that I do is, with like an e-commerce store, one of the ways I just conceptually think about it is if something got hacked and I had to restore from like a day earlier or whatever it is, the website, and then I have my backups and I can go just kind of manually fix or set up the orders that I lost or whatever. Like it's just peace of mind. There's not much risk, but like to lose everything is, it feels like terrifying. But like if
No,
I
it
know
isn't.
the worst that could happen is I might lose like 1 day's worth of data or 1 hour or whatever. That's a lot of peace of mind.
Just like you're saying, how much tolerance do I have for lost data? And for an e-commerce site, it's very little tolerance. So it's good to be able to, because the thing is, if you didn't have a backup, if you weren't backing up, looked for LMS, and then something happened, you'd be screwed because everything's gone. It would take you a very long time to like get your business back up and going, and that's why you have your backup strategy.
So I put a link in the chat to the special deal you guys put together for the Lift LMS audience, which is buy one get one free. You get Backup Buddy and iTheme Security. So there's a link for that. I'll put that in for those of you watching on YouTube as well. So if I come in and I want to make the commitment, I'm willing to invest in being able to sleep at night and like take my business like pretty serious, a little more seriously in terms of a strategy around security. Let's say I get iTheme Security, I get Backup Buddy. What are my immediate next actions to just get the base set up?
So I showed you Backup Buddy. Enter your username and password, and then you get to stop worrying about your backups and start worrying about growing your business.
Yeah.
You go to security. Just pull up all these settings right here, and then you can just go to security check, click secure site.
Yeah.
And then activate the network brute force protection. And what that will do is if there's a bunch of different IPs getting locked out from multiple iTheme sites that are connected to the network, guess what? They may not touch your site, but as soon as they come try, they're going to be blocked. Now, this is going to enable the basic settings that are not going to cause any conflicts on your site. Everything that was just enabled, you don't. It's going to give you a good layer of protection of securing your site, and it's not going to cause any conflicts. So if you want to go in and fine tune things more, you can, but that's going to give you a basic level of protection. And then you can go in and fine tune things how you like it. Like the magic links is already going to be enabled for you. So if you do get locked out, that's going to get sent to your email. You're going to be able to pass that. Your site's going to automatically get scheduled or get scanned from malware twice a day. And keep an eye out. There's going to be some exciting changes with this soon. Just spoiler, like I can't spoil everything right now, but like keep an eye out on that. This is, I'm excited. Anyway, and then you can go in and then you can fine tune because enable requires a little bit more reCAPTCHA requires a little bit more interaction. You have to get your Google reCAPTCHA keys. But you can go. I would recommend setting this up because it's going to help protect you against bots from user registration, especially if you have open user registrations. Let's just let's try to keep that to real human beings. Let's try to keep real human beings commenting on your site and not let any spam bots come in and then spamvertise everything on in your comments page. And then also on you can use reCAPTCHA for your login. So if it does, especially if you're using version 3 of reCAPTCHA and you have your threshold set a little bit higher. If you are using Safari and it autofills your username and password, it's going to block you. So that's like it recognizes how the form is being filled, and then it's going to be able to see if this is human interaction or is this being automated. Oh, it's being automated. Let's not let them try to. They're not going to be able to log in. They're not going to be able to try. Like so. If you are on your login page, you enter your username and password, you fail reCAPTCHA 3, that login request isn't going to happen. But again, that requires a little bit user interaction of your own. And then another cool thing is the security dashboard. So let me refresh this real quick. This is, we're just going to use the default layout. And this is going to give you an overview of what's happening on your site. And this isn't going to be super exciting because this site is new and there's no activity on it. But you can see, do you have any lockouts? Do you have any banned users? How's your malware scans doing? Let me just going to close this. There we go. Has there been any 404 detectives? Do you have any trusted devices yet? You can see a history of brute force attacks. And then keeps track of your updates. Like has any of your plugins, themes, WordPress, have they've updated? So yeah, so you can use this, you can customize this, and then share this with whatever other users you want to. That way you can just come in here, let's not waste time. Let's just see if there's anything you need to look at and get out. Because again, like, you guys aren't security experts. You guys aren't backup experts. You're the experts in the course that you're doing. You're not passionate about this. You're passionate about the courses you're creating. Automate this so you can focus on what you like to do.
I think this is, I just want to highlight something that's really cool here. You have made it possible to install 2 plugins that have default options. I mean, you have to like click a button here, click a button there, log in to Stash, and you have a solid baseline. And then when it comes time, if you want to tweak the dials and, tighten up something or loosen up something, you can do that. But like the basic, this is really just installing a couple plugins to start. And here's the part I love. What you've done over the today and yesterday is we've gone a little bit deeper into like how all this works behind the scenes so that we have a better understanding of like why it's important and how it works. Even if we don't know all the technical details or whatever, you've kind of put the easy button on top of security and backup and restore, which is very valuable for an online business.
That's like, again, when as a small business owner, that's where my mindset goes. And like, I think of him when I'm thinking about customers, I think about my dad. Because one, he's cool. And I think our customers are cool. And then 2, he doesn't have time to worry about this. He doesn't have the time, and he doesn't care. Like, those are 2 important things. Do you have time for it? No. Do you care about it? No. Then don't worry about it. Install a couple plugins and forget about it, and do what you enjoy doing. Life is too short.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I think we're going to get into drawing our winners. So, Kathy, if you want to get ready to draw the Backup Buddy winner, giveaway winner. It looks like it is Simon Richards is the winner of a year of Backup Buddy. So email us at team@liftlms.com. And then we've got another one coming here. And Ann Keller is the winner of 1 year of one of our $99 add-ons. Or if you're already a customer, we'll extend your existing license out into the future. So congratulations to Ann.
Can I make a feature request?
Yeah.
Can you get one of those like annoying blaring horn sounds when people win? So like, Simon's the winner.
Yeah. I have recently leveled up my audio and my camera and stuff like that, but I
like that you're standing. I want a standing desk when I'm doing these things, because like I like that a lot. I was thinking about that yesterday. I'm jealous.
This is just I started standing up about 10 years ago, and then I just never stopped. So now I have like a fixed, like, this is a wooden table. It doesn't go up and down. There is a stool in here. Like, I probably sit 5% of the time, but yeah, it's especially when you're presenting or whatever, to me it feels easier.
Well, it's just there's a reason why, like, if you look at Oval Office speeches, writers, they hate the president doing them because they're sitting down.
Oh, interesting.
So they like, we'll do the important speeches there, but they always, like, go and watch like a speech of John F. Kennedy standing up versus a speech of him sitting down. They're going to be completely different, because the energy level that you have standing, because you feel subdued and reserved when you're sitting down. So yeah, I like standing too. So sorry, didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
That's awesome. And Simon is saying in the comments, wow, he's never won anything. Today, Simon, you are a winner. And Ann's excited too that she won. Before we close it out, I just wanted to thank you, Michael, for coming and doing this presentation. These are both been very solid. And as someone who appreciates training and education, I appreciate how well you've provided teaching that provides the context of what does security mean, what are the parts and pieces, what are we backing up, or what it's. You just did a fantastic job. So thank you.
No thing. Again, preparing for this one was super exciting for me because this is like I like these people. These are the people that I like. I like hustlers, and I like people who are passionate enough to. You have to be passionate in order to create a course about something. And like I dig that. Like that's something I can get excited about is other people's passion. So this one was super. I was super excited to do it.
Well, thank you. And we had a couple winners here, but everybody can benefit by getting buy one get one free. So if you want to get Backup Buddy and iThemes security, you can go to lifterlikes.com/iThemes. There's a link to that in the chat. And I want to kind of close us out on one final question for you, Michael. You've mentioned this a couple times that your dad is a professional trainer. And like as somebody who's grown up and watched somebody who, you know, teaches and inspires people, helps other people develop as leaders, and basically he creates a positive impact. He earns money by doing that. What are some things that you learned from your father or just observing and watching him that you'd like to share with the people that they could benefit from about something your father did or how he does things as a professional trainer?
One thing that he's always done is taking care of himself physically so he can maintain the energy that he needs. Number two, he's never been done learning. He's never done. He is a curious guy. He went back and got his engineering degree for fun because he's curious. So he's constantly, he never thinks that he knows everything. He's never satisfied with the amount of information that he has in a particular subject. He's in a continual growth. If you're not growing, you're dying. And those two things, you have to take care of yourself and then just be curious. That's it.
That's awesome.
He makes it easier. It looks easier because he's doing it than it actually is. But like, that's the two things that, and then you also have to care. Like, that's another thing. He genuinely cares. Like he'll, be in my stepmom told me the story. They're in New York City. She's super scared. And then like, cause they're on the subway, there's a bunch of sketchy people around. And then my dad sees someone with with a little baby in her arms. And then he starts striking up a conversation with her, asking how old the baby is, blah, blah, blah. Cause like he's in his element, which is people.
Yeah.
People person. And then I didn't want to say something else before I got out of here. Lifter LMS is freaking awesome. Like you guys, the people who are using your plugin, using your service, they did a good job picking it out because this, like, the more I get on, like I told you this off the camera yesterday, I sent it to my dad because I'm seriously impressed by it. It's a really good product. And just so all your customers know that they made the right choice because I've doing support, done a lot of testing with a lot of like membership type plugins. And there's some ones out there that are garbage. This one's not garbage. I like it. I'm a big fan of it.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate that, Michael. So Michael's from iThemes. Check out Backup Buddy. Check out iThemes Security. If you've learned one takeaway today, just getting these in place, turning them on, rolling with the default options, you're in a world of a better place in terms of security and disaster protection and the ability to recover if should you ever need to. That's going to help you sleep at night. Michael, thank you so much for coming. I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the past couple of days, and we'll see you around the internet. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Hey, no, I had a lot of fun. Thank you very much.